A path to Democratic victory. This is an interesting story.
Hi, everyone. It is 4 o'clock in New York. I'm Ayman Mohideen in for Nicole Wallace. News breaking earlier today revealing that Donald Trump's quest to bend our national security apparatus to his will has now been turbocharged by his acting director of national intelligence, Bill Pulte. MS Now's Vaughn Hilliard has some exclusive new reporting that, quote, dozens of intelligence officials began receiving notice of their terminations on Thursday under Bill Pulte, an intelligence official who spoke on condition of anonymity due to potential reprisals, told MS Now that the individuals being removed by the Trump administration are officials who they believe are deep state. Intelligence leadership alleges that the fired workers have not provided complete pictures of available intelligence, the officials said. The moves come after Pulte's elimination last month of 6 political appointees who served under Tulsi Gabbard, the previous director of national intelligence. Now, the premise is absurd, one of the former officials said. Another of the former officials questioned how Pulte, who has no experience working in intelligence, would be able to make such a determination so quickly. Quote, I have a real question of how he would know this. This isn't a guy who is familiar with intelligence, said the former official, who also spoke on condition of anonymity, citing concerns about retaliation. How is he going to get to the bottom of this and rely on any information with a matter of fidelity? It would be like me taking over a hospital and firing dozens of surgeons in a matter of days. A recent Wall Street Journal interview with Donald Trump, however, making it clear that this is less about Pulte managing to uncover some new information about these intelligence officers and more about passing a loyalty test. The Wall Street Journal reported at the time this, just last month, quote, President Trump said that he wants Bill Pulte, his incoming acting director of national intelligence, to begin firing a large number of employees as part of a shakeup of the U.S. intelligence community. I'd like to see it smaller. I think there are a lot of people in there that shouldn't be there, Trump said, pointing to holdovers from the Biden and Obama administrations. Now, asked whether he is calling on Pulte to fire people, Trump said that he wants him to start the process, adding that his eventual nominee to serve in the role of permanently should continue that work as well. Now, for their part, intelligence officials are crystal clear that Donald Trump hollowing out the ODNI in the same way that he has done the FBI and the Department of Justice will be detrimental to the safety and well-being of Americans. In fact, one former intelligence official told MS Now, quote, the intelligence community is comprised of committed professionals. This is a fantasy. It only hurts U.S. national security. It is helpful to Russia, China, and Iran. A spokesperson for the CIA did not respond to a request for comment. Donald Trump kicking off the 4th of July by making us more vulnerable to enemies, foreign and domestic, is where we begin today with former Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI and National Security Intelligence Analyst Michael Feinberg. Also with us, NYU law professor and legal analyst Melissa Murray, and senior White House reporter Vaughn Hilliard, who is bylined on this reporting that we have been reading from throughout this setup. Vaughn, let's start with you. This is an extraordinary piece of reporting. Walk us through more of it and what you have learned.
Right, Eamon. I'm told that yesterday the terminations began and officials began leaving the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And I'm told that the expectation among intelligence officials is that in the coming days, there will be more among the dozens who will be formally fired. Bill Pulte could serve in this position up to 210 days in this acting capacity. Of course, he's been met already in the last month by much pushback up on Capitol Hill, much concern for somebody that has no history of being or serving in the intelligence community or dealing with classified information, being tapped into this role. Of course, Jay Clayton, the U.S. Attorney from the Southern District of New York, has been formally nominated to serve as the Director of National Intelligence moving forward. But there is a pause in that confirmation process. And right now, Bill Pulte is effectively making it clear through these actions that he is carrying out the wishes of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He was brought in after serving as the head of the housing agency over the course of the last year and a half to do exactly what these dozens of firings are doing. I am told by an intelligence official that the understanding is that those individuals who are being removed from their post are alleged by leadership to have, number one, engaged in being part of the, quote, deep state, and number two, that they did not turn over or did not provide full assessments of the intelligence that fell under their purview. Of course, what we are hearing from former intelligence officials is that those allegations are so difficult to comprehend, and that they're, according to our colleague David Rode, who is also bylined in this, that there is really no history of individuals in the intelligence community not providing accurate assessments to those in leadership within the 18 different intelligence agencies that fall under the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And that is where these actions, they are so consequential, because we're not talking about 6 political appointees who served under Tulsi Gabbard, those that were fired 2 weeks ago by Bill Pulte. We're talking about until dozens of career officials that served in this office well before the President Trump came into office in 2025.
Vaughn, let's just take a step back for a minute and tell me who Bill Pulte is. You touched on him briefly, but obviously the question is, he's in this temporary role, but why does Donald Trump like him so much? And why and how has he ended up in this position, you think?
He's a loyalist, and he is somebody who the president said he wanted to make a part of his cabinet. He fits that kind of profile, somebody that he would not question his allegiance and his commitment to carrying out the desires of President Trump, which, if you go back to the first administration, time and again, you heard the president, through firings, replace people in his cabinet because they didn't carry out his wishes. Dan Coats, you'll recall, the former senator from Indiana, somebody who is a close friend of Mike Pence, served as director of national intelligence, and it ended up seeing his way out of the administration largely because of frustration by President Trump. Bill Pulte is somebody who had no government experience. He's in his mid-30s. He came in to oversee the agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, but he is also a member of Mar-a-Lago. He was a big donor to President Trump's campaign. And he is somebody, when he was serving as the head of that housing agency, actually referred Letitia James. He referred James Comey. He referred other individuals, Eric Swalwell, to the Department of Justice for alleged mortgage fraud, which he said fell under his purview, people that he said had wrongfully claimed 2 primary residencies. And he turned over documentation that he believed the Department of Justice should use to attempt to indict and prosecute those individuals. Of course, none of those individuals have seen a day in court. Several of those indictments were, in fact, tossed out. But he caught the eye of Donald Trump, because even though he was serving as the head of that housing agency, he used information that he had access to within that agency and made referrals over to the Department of Justice, ones that ultimately U.S. attorneys as well as Ed Martin used to go and try to fulfill the type of retribution campaign that Donald Trump made very clear in 2024 and coming into 2025. He wanted people within his cabinet to carry out. Bill Pulte is somebody here over the course of the last year who is continually at the forefront of carrying out those types of wishes.
Michael, I want you to level set for us here, and certainly for our viewers, as we learn potentially about the identity of these officials or the positions they occupied or even the responsibilities that they had within the intelligence community. How damaging is this? How disruptive is this to our ability to protect Americans and disruptive to the intelligence community writ large?
Yeah, so I would say these actions fall somewhere on the spectrum between wildly irresponsible and horribly idiotic. It was hyperbole that was used a lot, particularly during the war on terror in both Republican and later Democratic administrations, to say that if the president or Congress or an agency didn't get their way, Americans were going to die. And I think the constant refrain of that sort of eroded its ability to prod the public into supporting certain things. But I feel confident that if you start shedding massive numbers of subject matter experts in the intelligence community, Americans will die. And I want to be very clear about what I mean. It might be the case that the National Counterterrorism Center under ODNI has less responsible leadership and less workforce. And as a result, a plot doesn't get unraveled in time before a bomb goes off. But this is also the sort of thing that could haunt us a generation or two from now. If we jettison this afternoon an expert in Russian arms technology or an expert in how China's tech sector fuses with its military infrastructure, we could be in an armed conflict 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And the fact that we weren't able to do our intelligence obligations today means that at that time in the future, American soldiers, American midshipmen, American Marines are going to be at a material disadvantage in armed conflict. So I get that this is going to be emotionally satisfying for the Trump administration, but every American, regardless of their political stripes, should realize that what this is functionally doing is making them, their neighbors, their families, and their friends orders of magnitude less safe than they've really been at any time since 9/11.